Hi, my name is Phil Wilkes. This is a project I worked on at FIEA with my partner Kevin Rux on a game called MShooter. It uses Cryengine 3. MShooter is a Schmup game, shoot 'em up game, based in the Metroid universe. The player controls Samus's ship and fights off a legion of pirate ships that are trying to stop it. MShooter is a little different from most shmup games you may be familiar with, because MShooter is both a traditional top-down shooter and a side-scrolling shooter. And the player can press a button to switch. As you see here, the firing mechanics are pretty straightforward. Fire missiles at the enemy ships. If they take enough damage, they explode and die. You can see some ships are indeed sideways. And you can obviously see the switch from top-down to side-scrolling mode. Now, my part on the project was primarily level design and the actual level building. It is a completely exterior environment. For the top-down view, you see the forest from above. So you'll see occasionally rocks beneath on the terrain below. You're looking down through trees that are actually billboarded, so that as they move out of the screen, they'll eventually disappear. In the distance, we have mountains, specifically for the side-scrolling view. And that really posed an interesting challenge for the level building aspect of it, because if you're just dealing with a top-down shooter, you only have to worry about the terrain immediately beneath you, right? Same thing with the side scroller, you don't have to worry about stuff passing around in front of the camera. You never really see the ground unless you're flying right above ground level. So with this, not only with enemy placement and with the actual terrain building, we wanted to make things interesting regardless of which view the player decided to play in. And because they can switch whenever they want, we wanted to make sure the enemies were positioned so that some of them were sideways too. And we also try to use those as subtle cues. If there's something interesting, like a waterfall or something in the distance, and all the enemies are sideways, that could be a cue for the player, hey, maybe if I switch sideways to match these enemies, they'll be easier to kill. And that is the case with the hitboxes for the enemies too. If they are top-down, it's easier to kill them in top-down mode. If they're sideways, it's easier to kill them in a sideways mode. But you can still kill them in any orientation. So the challenge when placing the enemies was that the formations had to be very specific. Kevin was a scripter on this game. He built the entire game as a flow graph, or as a series of flow graphs. So when putting the enemy formations there, they have to be staggered and have unique X and Z coordinates. So that if you're in the editor and you look at it, all the enemies are in their relative formations as you see them, but they're all separated out. And that is so that when they're pushed sideways, they don't shoot and kill each other. And the same with top-down. So what you see as maybe a straight line formation of enemies is actually a diagonal line in the editor. So that way when the ships are pushed to one side or the other and pulled up to the same plane, they all appear like they're in a legitimate formation. My capstone project that I'm on is called Escher Reel, and that's a puzzle game involving the flipping of gravity and the transition from a 3D environment to 2D, where the player can move around, and then transition back to 3D and be in their appropriate position. So I'm kind of used to thinking about things in multiple ways. So with MShooter placing the enemies, I knew what kind of formations I wanted from playing shmup games myself, but it was really interesting trying to incorporate those into MShooter because of the fact that you have to think about what a formation is going to look like in top-down and sideways perspectives. And, big thanks to Kevin, who got all the complicated scripting stuff done. Thanks for watching.